Hello, I am joined by Huber, Don, and Ben.
Yo.
And we've all seen the new Mortal Kombat. We're going to talk about spoilers. Just going to have a conversation without worrying about spoilers. We're not going to summarize the story necessarily, but we just want to talk about it. And that's what we're here to do. This is your final warning. Spoiler mode is activated right now.
Spoiler mode, final warning, spoiler mode, activated.
Hello, everyone. All right. Go, Don.
I loved it.
I thought it was fun. I had fun going, oh, that's like the thing from the game. Like, that's the move where he freezes a wall and then throws him at the frozen wall.
Yeah. It was a little beyond that, though, right? I mean, boy, did they have a lot of fan service in there.
Constant fan service.
Tell us about all the fan service that you loved, Don. Or Ben.
The first half of the movie, I was like, this movie is so much fun, and it's not taking itself too seriously, and it has the right tone.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the movie, I was like, I don't like this movie.
I think, let me predict the point at which you began to hate it. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But was it when Raiden was like teleporting everyone together to do all those little individual matches, or no?
I did think that was bad, but
that's where you saw scenes that looked like the maps from the games.
yes, there's a lot of fan service. Here's I think the most succinct way I can sum up my feelings on the Mortal Kombat movie. Cole kept getting in the way. I don't think they justified sufficiently his existence. I don't think he was necessary, and I don't think his story elements added a lot to this universe.
What you mean you didn't like the point where Raiden told him to go away? Raiden? Told him to go away back
Lord
to his
Raiden.
family, even though that's the exact thing he couldn't do because it put his family in danger. But even though it was super clear that he was doing it to make his powers awaken, you didn't like that part?
No.
Ben, you nailed it with the first half because I kept waiting for the movie to get good. I was like, okay, there's hope. It's going to get better. It's going to get better. Yeah. And then it was the end of the movie, and it just never happened for me. I never got invested. And the main reason, just at the end of the day, is the fights. I thought the fights lacked energy. I thought they lacked stakes. I thought they lacked creativity. This is fucking Mortal Kombat, and like, you couldn't live in any of these fights. They were just cutting all over the place. You didn't feel the hits, and they would always end with a cool fatality, in my eyes, to hide the fact that the build-up to it was lackluster. I just did not like any of the fights in this movie.
So I'm shocked to hear that, Huber. So you didn't appreciate at all, though, the unbelievable attention to detail in like the individual movesets of every single character, not just in the beginning, throughout the entire movie. I mean, no game, and this is what you want to see. When you want to see a Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, a movie based on a fighting game, people are really hoping they're going to see a bunch of good fights.
Yeah.
The fights in this movie, there was such an attention to detail, I thought, in terms of like every character. It wasn't like one move you're seeing like, oh yeah, that's a special move. It was like every punch, every kick, every throw was identifiable to that character in a really clear way. I don't know. I thought it was done well. To me, it wasn't like sometimes you see action fighting where it's just like cut, and you don't even know where the choreography is happening from. But this is a lot of things where you're seeing like 3 or 4 moves sequentially.
Yeah.
And
the individual moves, totally done. I liked some individual moves here and there. And, you know, not every fight was all 100% bad. Kano and Sonya in the house, I thought was the highlight of the movie by far. It was absolutely the best fight.
Kano was really funny. Yeah.
Kano was good. Sonya was also really good.
But as a whole, each fight did not live up to my expectations. Maybe I was just hoping for more.
I think it was just really inconsistent because, like, I think there are examples that you can point at that both of you are touching on.
Yeah.
So, like, a scene that I thought was like, okay, this is just extremely clever and well done is when Liu Kang keeps doing the Mortal Kombat sweep on Kano.
Yes.
And
that
you're
was
like,
so funny.
This is great on multiple levels
For sure,
because it like
That was
works
so
with
funny.
these characters, and that's what you do in classic Mortal Kombat is like people are spamming sweep, and so it's like that's
Liu
just
Kang
that's just
specifically too.
that's like a really good way of throwing something like that in there. But then another scene featuring Liu Kang, I'm like, this is forcing it in the worst way and is undermining the point that you're trying to make. It's like my least favorite line in the movie, where Liu Kang, and they already used the fatality line in this movie, and Liu Kang goes fatality, and then he like awkwardly goes for Liu Kang, or no, sorry, for Kung Lao. After
weird.
he goes fatality for Kung Lao,
So
and it's like,
weird.
and it's just like
I don't remember that.
I don't
Yeah.
even remember that actually.
it happens.
The one when the one goes flawless victory, that one kind of worked.
That one was pretty.
that was
crowbarred in.
Kung Lao.
Yeah,
I
that was
think.
Kung Lao.
That was the hat
when,
guy,
I think
I
when he
think.
beat Natara, he said
Yes,
flawless victory.
Yeah,
and
he
he
just
did.
cut her in
He
half.
did his he did his fatality. Where
And the
he-
fatality
Like-
was brilliant. I mean, that was the game. Here's the thing, though. Okay, you're absolutely right. There's a bunch of stuff that was forced in this movie, but here's the thing. Okay, Mortal Kombat. The lore is, and the sheer number of characters is like you could make 12 films and not fit everything. They've literally made 12 movies. And what this movie attempted to do that I respected, and I think it did successfully, by cramming all that stuff in there, is like they said, we're going to try to take swings at some of this lore for like all the games. We're not resetting it. We're not starting at the beginning. We're going to go through the whole entire series and try to get something in there from everywhere. And the fact is, it's just like there's way too much. Mm-hmm. But the fact that it was all, I mean, everything that was in there, with few exceptions, I thought was like pretty authentic to the games. When you only have a 2 hour, 120 minutes, there's just no time.
Oh, I mean, you're totally right, Don. Like, there was a lot that was super authentic to the games, and they were cramming in Easter eggs like all over the place. But
that to me was a disservice to the movie, Ben. Sorry to cut you off. It was like they were trying to do too much, and it's like as soon as the day after this movie came out, every single article is like, yo, the next 5 Mortal Kombat movies. All right, let's talk about the next 5 movies. Let's talk about the prequels and the spin-offs. And it's like, dude, fucking focus on this one movie, please. Like, it was extending its reach beyond all its limits.
So this is what I mean by like Cole seems to kind of be getting in the way, but you could also kind of say like classic Mortal Kombat is getting in the way of like Cole's story, because it's like if you want to tell a personal story about this guy who is an ancestor of Scorpion, I think you can tell that movie, but they're trying to tell that movie, and they're also trying to cram in the huge conflict between Earthrealm and Outworld, and they're like trying to do both at the same time. And so at the end of the movie, when Sub-Zero is like freezing his wife and daughter, I'm like, I don't care. Like, I barely know these people.
Yeah.
Like, there's no stakes here.
Also, like, how are they not dead? Like, also, why are you not fighting? You're just over here stabbing the ice.
And then it's like the whole point, like why Cole, like why you're hyping us on Cole. It's like, okay, so he's Scorpion's ancestor, so he's gonna like avenge Scorpion. He's going to fight Bihan, and then it's like,
or at least have a Scorpion-related power manifest, and not just like Colossus powers with like the Black Panther suit. Like it's so weird.
But then it's like at the end of the movie, like Scorpion just comes back and takes care of it. Anyway, so
which they foreshadow at the beginning too. So it's like the Scorpion storyline is very strange, because it's like you clearly know that Hell Scorpion's coming back or whatever, but also they have this ancestor thing. So like you're thinking when his power manifests, and he has the dagger too. So you're thinking the power is going to be like, you know, get over here like with this dagger or whatever. Like, but it isn't.
I just
it
feel
has
like
nothing to do with him. It's so weird.
It's so weird that for a movie that I think in a lot of ways tries to be super authentic and tries to appease the fans, it's like, what if we cut out Cole and we got more time with characters like Melina or Cabal or like characters that we like are super excited to see.
You already have
Cabal was cool. Cabal was cool.
He was so goofy.
I love it.
He was goofy
over the top.
The whole thing.
You
So why wasn't the rest acceptable over the top though? If Cabal, I mean, he was like the most over the top goofy in a way caricature of who he was.
I think it fit with his personality though. Like he was he was super serious but also over the top. So I think that
here's the thing with the Cole real fast though is like, okay, who they needed to figure out some kind of protagonist. Who do you make as the protagonist in the film?
Liu Kang,
Jackson
baby.
Sonya, dude.
Or Jackson Sonya.
No,
Okay.
listen. Jax and Sonya already have an in for the story to be centered around them. They're hunting for people with the mark. Like, you could find Cole if you need to do like a new character. Have that be the in. Like, they find him somehow. Like, I don't know. It does seem weird. It's like, why have an extra main character that's new when you have a perfect setup with Sonya and Jax?
Because they didn't have the time to focus on Sonya. And if they did that, then
because
it was going to be a
Cole
Sonya
exists.
and Jax movie. The reason Cole exists, though, is so that they could have these billion other convoluted storylines somehow be there, and it not just be, and there still be some kind of focal point. Like, was it perfect? Was it cheesy? Of course it was. That's what we knew it was going to be. But it was like, he was this grounding point, really, of just to bring the storyline. You couldn't have Scorpion. There's way too much of a time span that you're having to cover. You know what I mean? So it's like he ended up being.
I think.
Well, but if it's Sonya and Jax like hunting people down for their team, you could have like little vignettes where we see a little more of each person and still have them as the through line story. Right?
I don't think it's Sonya and Jax, and I think this movie is just trying to have its cake and eat it too. Like, they almost treat Liu Kang like the protagonist, and it's like. It's so weird because Liu Kang is obviously a major protagonist in Mortal Kombat, and they kind of treat him that way. And it's like, I think, like, learning more about the relationship, which they really just talk about through exposition between Kung Lao and Liu Kang, would have been way more satisfying. It would have made Kung Lao's death way more impactful if we like saw them training as Shaolin brothers together, which they're trying to allude to.
No, you're absolutely right.
They're trying to allude to that stuff.
It's these Hollywood producers coming in, and they're just like, "Yo, let's have a character that doesn't know anything, and that'll be the audience. The audience will be along the ride with this character as he goes on a hero's journey and discovers all of these things. And for fans of the games, it'll be fun when he interacts with those characters. Like, guaranteed, that's how it went."
Oh, yeah.
But even on a superficial level, he just has like the lamest arcana ever. Like, it's
pretty dumb. Also, like, it seems inconsistent. Like, it seems like it's setting up like a Black Panther suit, power absorption, and then power, like, refund kind of thing. But he never really uses that. Like, after defeating Goro, he, like, doesn't do that again, really.
Wait, for real. Can somebody answer me right now, why did Shang Tsung, Master Sorcerer, can teleport people anywhere? Why did he teleport Goro into Cole's garage? And why did he struggle to open a garage door? Goro,
no doubt there was a lot of stupid
story.
Goro struggled to open a like rinky-dink garage door, dude.
Also,
I was so hard, and then CG Goro coming at that, all that, I was just like, no.
He looked kind of like OG Goro from the OG movie too, though.
For a movie that tries to do so much fan service, I thought about it a little while after I'd finished the movie, and I was like, wait a minute, they didn't have Shang Tsung like transform into anybody. That's like a major thing.
But there's like a billion things they could have included, and they included 10,000, right?
I'm just saying, like, sure, maybe if we cut out Cole, we create space.
But no, because think about it from a screenwriter's point of view. Hold on, you can't cut out Cole. Listen, it would be ideal if it was Kung Lao and Liu Kang's story, right? And they did like a Shaolin, and it would have been great, and it could have been a powerful, great, like solid martial arts movie, whatever. But the problem is, you would have had to get rid of like 40 or 50 or 60% of the rest in order to have a properly developed story between those two. Just in the amount of time they even.
Well, and Liu Kang himself
made
says
the
my
decision
job
to
is to
not
go
do
get
that,
the
though.
other champions, even though he's just standing in the desert doing nothing. Like,
Don,
he could have done that too.
Yeah, I super respect making your own character. Like, I always wanted, like Rocksteady when they made the Batman games. Like, you've earned the right to do your own character. You don't need to do an exact copy of what's come before. I like that they tried something with a brand new character in Mortal Kombat, but I just couldn't connect to Cole or his family.
I didn't connect to him at all. I thought he was ridiculous.
And it was just teed up. It was so teed up. I liked that actor a lot. He's in Into the Badlands, so I already had a connection to the actor. I love family drama. I love Mortal Kombat. Like Ben was saying, he liked the movie, and then when it was over, he hated it. Same, like the whole time, it was just like neutral, waiting to love it. And then when the credits rolled, I was finally like, okay, I didn't like it. I wasn't actively against it while I was watching it at all. I was super open-minded. And then when the credits rolled, I was like, oh, that's it?
To bounce off what you're saying, Huber, I totally don't have a problem with them adding a new character, but it's like they added the most milquetoast character they possibly could. He's just like a collection of like the most basic tropes ever. Like, really, he awakens his arcana when his family is in danger. You know, he's actually like an ancestor of a character we all love. Like, he's just so straightforward. And I think when you're watching the other characters, when you're watching like Sonya and Kano bicker, or you're watching, you know, Kung Lao give Kano shit, you're like, this is way more charismatic and fun. Like, this is just a more fun movie. And
the movie really came alive when Kano showed up. And
I think
he started cracking wise.
Like, you think back to the games, right? And you think of MK9, and like MK9 did this miraculous thing of taking this super convoluted lore and like, you know, creating a new starting point and kind of like resetting the board in a really interesting way and getting everybody back on board and playing to nostalgia and all that stuff. But then MKX, they made a bunch of new characters. Like, the story was focused on the new generations of fighters, and they're like, a lot of those characters are way, way, way more interesting than somebody like Cole. Like, Cassie Cage has way more personality and like is way more fun to watch just in like, you know, pre and post fight banter in the story mode than.
And you could have done a similar story with like an audience analog, because like having one of them come in as a newbie, you know, we still get that fresh eyes thing. Also, Huber, I wanted to circle back to something you said before, because like something egregious about this movie that was so funny to me was they mentioned the tournament like 6 times. We're building up to this tournament. Everything's happening before the tournament, so of course the finale is going to be the tournament.
It feels like a poor man's tournament.
Yeah.
Well, but then you realize that no, the next movie is the tournament, or maybe even movie 3 at this rate. Like, you realize when they're franchising.
That did happen in the games, though. Plot-wise, this whole thing happened. You know, where the Outworld tried to prevent the tournament from happening by killing off all the people. I mean, that exactly.
It's cool.
All right, well, that's cool.
Cool on paper, and if that fight free for all had been more impactful, I would have been completely okay with there being no tournament. The reason I like the tournament is because I think Mortal Kombat is at its best when it's smaller and stripped down. To be honest, I love the series, but like when you go to Outworld and you start having this huge war and all these factions and all these, like, to me it's too much. I like when it's just simple, you got to win this tournament or we're taking over the world. Let's go.
But along those lines too, like, I liked the Scorpion Sub-Zero stuff. Like, it had a lot of fun payoffs. They were using moves, whatever, but what's kind of funny is when you're watching the movie, because of the way the movie is set up, you think that the showdown is going to be between Raiden and
Raiden.
What's his name? Raiden and the other one,
Shang Tsung.
Shang Tsung, but like they don't fight at all. Like, they don't even have like a little. You got to have a little skirmish and then they teleport out. Like, they're setting it up for the next movie. So I didn't know that it was
Raiden is purposely trying to be as hands-on.
Right, he's trying. Yeah, but like. It had the weird, just speaking as a movie, like putting lore and everything aside, like outside the movie, like it made it rendered the ending a little limp, because I didn't realize the finale fight was the finale fight, because I was thinking, because they had set up within the movie a different finale fight, kind of like this one is the finale fight too, but.
I get what you mean, Ian, because I feel like that really happened with Sonya and Jax as well, where like immediately you're like, okay, I'm waiting for Sonya to get her powers. I'm waiting for Jax to get his real arms. And then they get him and they use him for like, it feels like a second. Like, Sonya.
To like lift a rock.
Well, Sonya just kills Melina in like one hit.
Dude,
and it's
underutilized
it's super
Melina.
unsatisfying on like both sides of that fight.
At least she'd opened the mouth all the way, but like,
yeah.
She like stole every scene she was in. I was like, dude, more Melina, please. I really liked her.
Yeah.
She was good.
Well, and Melina has a really interesting story as well.
Can we do something?
We're gonna get them all again, because he just says like, I'll just bring them back for the second one. Like,
can we do something fun? Because I feel like I'm picking on Dawn.
No, Don,
I don't feel picked on at all.
Okay, good.
I 100% expect it. Like I said, the movie's universally hated. I understand that, so I'm not offended in any way. I just think, look, I went to the movie. I saw the trailer, and I was like, oh, okay, this Mortal Kombat is going to be a fan service movie, and it's going to be super cheesy. And then I saw the movie, and it exceeded my expectations by 1,000% because I was like, whoa, like I didn't expect this level of attention to go into what they did. And I know how difficult it is to cram in a story to like 120 minutes, especially when you have like, 30 characters or something that you're all trying to like show off some parts of them. And then, Coles was like a silly character who was totally, all the stuff with his family and everything was like super cheesy, but he was just this like really whatever, milquetoast, like you said, this inoffensive center of the storm, and the storm was what was interesting. And it was just like by halfway through I had abandoned all hope for any kind of like satisfying narrative, and I was having fucking fun, man. I was like, this is rad. Like every fatality, with a couple exceptions, I was like, well, why didn't when Scorpion torched him at the end, he should have been a skeleton and stuff.
Dude,
like
I said the same thing.
There was a couple of really
the
weird.
face has some
He got a little skeletal.
Yeah, there's a little
Come
bit.
on. It's
I wanted
it's
to
like
see.
one of the most
I wanted to see
iconic
T2 like burning flesh
yeah.
falling off his arms. And
like
everything.
super missed opportunity. I agree, 100%.
No, but
You're
go
so-
ahead, Huber. What do you want to? You said you were going to say something.
I would. That's a perfect segue. I'd like to rank the fatalities.
Wait,
I thought
hold
the
on.
fatalities were great. I don't know.
I want to
We'll
bounce
end
off
with that.
Don point because Don, I think I really appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I think the way that they utilize it falls into such a weird, because most of the time with video game movies, it's like we saw this with Monster Hunter, where it's like, this is not, a lot of this is not Monster Hunter at all.
Right.
And that Mortal Kombat is not that way. But its attention to detail almost works against it in a way, because some things it's so super specific about that, like, the moments where it's not, like, talking about the Scorpion skeleton fatality, it feels really awkward in this
Absolutely.
situation, because they included things where it's like, oh, I didn't expect that. And so that's really weird. And I think it kind of like, because I was watching this with my wife, who has no frame of reference for Mortal Kombat at all, and she's like, I have no idea what's going on. And you think about Mortal Kombat and like all of the rules that are necessary for Mortal Kombat, they kind of go through that stuff like pretty quickly, while also trying to establish, these individual character stories. And so I think like, if you're somebody that doesn't know anything about Mortal Kombat, I don't think it's a super satisfying movie. And if you
Absolutely
are
not.
super invested in Mortal Kombat, like I'm super invested in Mortal Kombat, and it's like, it's just it's faithful enough that it's reminding me of like the games, and I like the stories in the games more. You know what I mean? Like it becomes a weird comparison point.
Here's the thing for me. I had a different reaction. Almost every single game movie is that reaction you're talking about, where I'm like, well, it was faithful enough, but the producers always changed so many weird things. This was the opposite. This was like, whoa, there was a billion things that they were like super faithful on. I mean, so much. I was shocked. And you're right, those few things they weren't, like the skeleton, or like there are various things that really stood out because you're like, well, why wouldn't they do that? But it was like you could count them on one hand. And so I was just super impressed with that, because usually like 99% of the time you go into the movies and they're changing all kinds of stuff. And also they're deciding, okay, are we going to make a movie for like the general public to be like, you're being exposed to Mortal Kombat and you're going to understand it as someone never playing the game? Or are they saying, screw it, we're going to just like make it like crap fest for like fans to just have some fun. I think they just went the crap fest route, though. They really didn't, like Ben said, someone that doesn't know the lore is going to be like, what? I mean, this is like a mess, because they're not going to understand they're not going to have fun with any of those references, I don't think,
I totally agree with you, Don. Like, I thought that, like, I had a lot of fun with this movie. Obviously, it's not a good movie, but like, I didn't expect it to be a good movie. And I feel like as video game fans and as a film fan, like, I've got Stockholm syndrome. Like, literally, there's maybe one like actually good video game movie ever. Like, Detective Pikachu is like pretty decent.
Tomb Raider is fun.
Sure, the new one, I haven't seen the new one.
I like it.
But yeah, like one or two out of like 30 or 40 ever like video game movies that are like B like level, you know? So like the bar is so low.
I like the original way more, Ian.
That of this?
Yeah.
Well, but I guess what I'm saying is the bar is so low with people like just getting it so off the mark.
I feel like
what Donna's saying, like, where just that the people making the movie knew the game at all to include these details just shocked me into enjoyment.
Yeah.
I feel like the 95 movie has a more consistent tone. But
the effects are hilarious.
Goro looks awesome, dude. I love it. Goro,
I think the thing with
yeah.
Adaptations and taking properties and putting them into different formats, the metric that I like to use, I know video game movies are mostly crap, but I think we're in a time where there are amazing adaptations that if you're going to take something from one medium and put it in another, when I consume that new medium for the thing, that medium that it's not usually in, I want to have a better appreciation for something that I already love. I want to, take something that I love and be able to either look at it in a new light or have a deeper understanding of it or love, or just something that I couldn't get in its original format. And there's actually an animated movie, Scorpion's Revenge, that came out not that long ago. And I saw that and I loved that because it gave me a greater understanding of these characters that I am attached to, that it's kind of hard to go into in a fighting game, right? Where you have to include gameplay in the midst of the storytelling. Yeah. And walking away from this movie, I don't have that. I don't. Well, I don't feel like it was a I'm not walking away with a greater appreciation or a deeper appreciation.
Well, for having Kano and jokes, it was so serious. It was like serious to the point where like, dude, lighten up and have some fun, dude. There's a long stretch in this movie where it is just dreadfully serious and just
well, and like
Ben,
you were saying, Ben, like if you're entering a new medium, you have to do that medium well, and there has to be the reason that you've done it, like it has to be a good movie.
Well, here's the thing, though. Mortal Kombat is a little bit of a different case. Let me say this point. Because we've had 11 games. Each game has had at least a movie length or more of itself explaining these characters, giving you more of these characters, giving you all that stuff you're saying you want from the movie. It's the childhood dream, usually, when you see a live-action movie of a video game, that you say, I want to see some of that magic that's created in that fantastical game world. I want to see that portrayed in real life to see what that would be like. And for me, Mortal Kombat did that better than any other almost video game movie has ever done, where you were constantly being like, whoa, this is like AAA budget of like, that's the right effect, that's the right move, that's the right fatality, they're not pulling any punches, like whoa. And like they literally did not have the time to expand on your knowledge of any of these characters unless they chose to be like, we're going to have 5 characters in this movie and we're going to make them well developed, which they decided to not. They said, no, we're going to get like 20 of the 60 characters and we're going to just try to put a bunch of their authentic stuff in there, so that's just like super fun craziness, which is basically what it was, like because otherwise you'd have to make a much smaller film. I think you'd have to be a movie with like, Liu Kang as the protagonist, or with
The counterpoint that I have to your, and I think that's a good point, I really do, and because this is like an element that came up when we were talking about Godzilla versus Kong as well, just sort of like the fantasy of seeing these characters interact. And I think the problem with like the childhood fantasy of getting to like see these moves come to the big screen, I don't think the effects were very good.
No. Oh my God. Can we talk about the set design, please?
I think there was kind of like this cheapness and
dude, so cheap.
It
was uneven. Out. It was uneven, I think.
Dude, Outworld is horrible. That's one of the worst sets I've ever seen.
Hold on. I'm almost done. We were talking about the games, right? And Mortal Kombat 11 is fucking gorgeous. Like, going through that story mode, the way that those cutscenes are choreographed and how beautiful the stages are, it's like, in a lot of ways, I think that's way more impressive than the effects work that they did in this movie.
The final battle was in a training area, for Christ's sake. It was the most uninteresting place to have a final battle.
Dude,
no!
the frozen over, the way they did that set, that was a real set. There was no CG there. It looked freaking awesome.
Dude,
Are you kidding me?
It would have
It was
meant
a frozen
more.
over boxing,
right,
fighting
they
arena.
were
It was a
trying to-
stage.
They were trying to do a full circle thing with Cole, but
that's
like
exactly
we didn't
what it
give a
was.
shit about Cole. So like, who cares?
The frozen area was cool, but
Dude,
all
the
the other,
icicle shit
the
looked
desert,
awesome.
like basic
The
area
icicles
where
looked
Kung
pretty
Lao and Liu Kang, where everyone else was fighting.
The spike pit was cool. I was like, hey, it's the spike pit.
MK9
Which they didn't
spike pit
use.
again. They didn't use it, so that's one of those things. You're like, okay, they picked the best. They picked the
How
best.
do you
the best pit from any game, and then they
not go into
don't
the
knock
pit.
someone into the pit. Yeah, that
How do
things
you
like
do
that are
that?
egregious.
It was crazy.
But Ben, they had like 5 of those things that were egregious, and then they like hit on like 50,000 others. Literally,
That number keeps going up, Don.
the movie's getting
There's
better. and better.
10,000 a second
The more I
ago.
think about
There's
it, I'm liking
10,000
it
a
more.
second ago.
Kano's fatality was perfect.
Dude,
It was
all the
perfect.
fatalities were perfect. All of where they
Kung
split
Lao's was
Nitara's where she got split in half and you saw her
hat was cool.
brain
The
fall
the
apart.
Kung Lao fatality is probably my favorite one.
Probably the best one,
So-
the hat one.
Sub-Zero against Jax, it wasn't a fatality, but it was brutal when he
Jax
snapped
did
his arms.
did the head clap. The
Dude,
the
oh,
fire
There's
dragon.
there's a fatality where he freezes his arms and tears them off or whatever.
He lives
yeah.
through it, but I mean,
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
sort of.
It's not a
The
fatality.
fire
Yeah,
dragon was cool when he did the
Fire
fire dragon.
dragon.
It was freaking incredible.
When Sonya kills Kano, that was cool.
Shang Tsung's was a letdown.
but
the
his
soul
soul
suck?
suck,
Mine.
his soul suck was sick. You didn't like that?
I liked Cabal saying he's about to get his soul sucked.
That was absurd.
When he was like, "I love this part" or whatever.
Yeah.
When you hear them scream, that was like the cheesiest line in the entire movie. It was
I
so funny.
actually didn't like. I really didn't like Cabal and Kano's
I didn't like
interaction.
Cabal.
I liked
but
Cabal. Okay.
I liked how he looked and how he moved and everything.
Yeah.
But
He's the like mask one, right?
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah,
guy
he's
says
the one. He's
gonna get
super
his soul
fast.
sucked.
Yeah, and so
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Cabal is like, oh man,
He's like,
it
"I
seems
love
like they're like, oh, Cabal and Kano, they kind of hate each other, but there seems to be some respect from Cabal. And look, I know Kano will do anything for money. I know he's greedy, but the way Cabal just sort of like casually strolls up and he's like, I'll just give you all the money you can imagine, man.
Yeah.
And it's like that. It
No
just felt-
receipts.
yeah, it just felt
Yeah.
like he even needed to like show him some like crazy unthinkable treasure or something, but it's just like think about the money,
Yeah.
and it just felt like a little awkward and yeah, I don't know.
that felt awkward, but it felt even more awkward when like literally 5 seconds later he didn't just break the seal for them and betray these guys, but then he's like literally fighting full force
Yeah.
against them, like trying to
Yeah.
kill them. That was like that turn really was a little bit it's funny you guys loved Kano though, because that was like actually one of the characters that I like bugged me. how they
He
did
bugged
it.
In the
me a
first
lot.
scene,
Right when he
In
came
the
in, I was like,
first
scene-
they're making Kano the comic relief.
he was
Come
funny in
on,
that
this is-
first scene, and then it kind of wore thin. By
He
the
had some
dinner.
good lines. He
By
had
the
lines
dinner
where I was like, if I
sequence.
was in the theater, I could imagine a lot of nice, like, friendly
Yeah.
chuckles happening during
Yeah.
his
Friendly
like,
chuckles.
one-liner.
You're right.
there were
That would have been
definitely
fun.
Kano lines that didn't land for me, but
Yeah.
I don't know. He was fun.
It's
Good
hard to
heart
make. It's hard to make someone like especially when you're saying the rest of the tone of the movie was like somewhat serious, not a lot of jokes, but and then Kano comes in as like super funny, but at the same time he's like supposed to be like super just like brutal, and that's like a really hard thing
Yeah.
to pull off.
Yeah, that is the thing, Don. You're totally right, because they like try to make Kano seem like this ruthless, like just like this guy would do anything, man, and like it never comes across. He's just he's
think-
pretty much always a joke.
I'm less familiar with Kano, so like that might be a game holdover. To me, like he was just the joke the whole movie. Like he can't fight, he sucks at everything, like, and then he dies. Like
And,
that.
like,
That was his point in this
yeah.
movie.
Kano's Arcana thing too was a really bothersome. How they
That was
changed
weird.
that for some
Oh,
reason. How because you know how like he just
Forgot
like,
about that.
Isn't it supposed to be a
developed-
robot eye?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like tech he has installed in himself,
Yeah.
and so it's kind of bizarre that like
Really
he
weird.
just developed a magic laser out of his eye or whatever.
Well, he didn't even lose the
Also-
eye. Like he was still using it, right?
Yeah.
After he got hit.
Also, like Sonya and Kano like hate each other. Like like Sonya especially from the bottom of her heart like despises Kano, and the way they played it off here, it was like
They didn't even
Kind
know
of-
each other, dude.
it was like-
honestly.
Yeah.
I
It
didn't
was like-
believe it.
It was
They had a
kind
good
of like
fight.
flirtatious almost.
Well, it was like
Yeah.
it was like a '90s like guy girl kind of dynamic where it's like,
Yep.
yeah, just kind of like, oh, haha, playful hatred, but it's like
Mm-hmm.
no.
Yeah.
I'm happy I
Yeah.
watched it.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, I'm not mad at it.
Exactly. I have so much criticism, but I was never angry. I was bored.
Here's the thing. I
I'm
feel like
surprised.
Even
some-
worse.
I'm so
sometimes
surprised.
it showed me the movie that it could be,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's why I'm coming in so hard against it. Is there was like
Glimpses.
there were glimpses of it.
Well,
yes.
good news. There's going to be 5 more.
Yeah.
I wonder if Ryan
did it do
Reynolds
good?
is
I
gonna
don't
be-
know.
The Sub-Zero, I saw in the Screen Rant video or whatever, they ended on an article that said the Sub-Zero like inked a contract for 5 more or something. I don't know the veracity of that, but
5 more, dude.
I don't know, but yeah, we'll see.
pretty
Watch
wild.
Warrior instead.
Don, of course, with all of these conversations, all the criticisms I have, I don't mean it personally against you or anything. I'm
Oh,
glad we have different
You
opinions.
could
Thank
just tell
God one of us liked it, right, Tom?
Me, you could yeah, thank God. You could
didn't
tell
hate
me
it,
you just
but it was
actually
terrible.
think my opinion's terrible.
No,
wouldn't be
I
offended.
don't think your opinion's terrible.
Because
at
I
all.
Listen
commonly-
here,
well,
Don,
look,
you miserable bowl of
I
snot.
love movies people hate, but the whole thing is this has been well documented. Look, it's all based. I have an insane sliding scale for movies because I do love really good quality martial arts movies, but I can also love a movie like this because I think I went in with a certain kind of, like I told you what my expectations were, and it did exceed that by a lot. I had a lot of fun though too. I mean, Huber didn't have fun. I'm surprised. It was just like, yeah, you had to abandon all like.
I watched it right at 9, and there was an electricity going in, and then the reaction started to come out, and everyone was like, "Dude, that was trash." But then a couple days later, because those expectations were then on the public consciousness, a lot of people were like, "Yo, it's good. It's good. What are you talking about? It's so good.
Well-
it's good." And then now that has subsided again, and it's like, no, it's really not good. It's just like the
I think the other thing
expectations.
that's hard
Yeah.
is the trailer was really promising. I thought.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Well, the trailer was weird because, I think, the first trailer misrepresented it a little bit because, it did make it seem like it was going to be this serious quality, more like Legacy or something, and it wasn't that. It was like an insane, big budget B movie or C movie,
Yeah.
It was just like goofy.
Solid C minus.
C minus for me, only because I didn't feel
I would
a connection to anyone. A C minus, I think, is really, really
But
fair.
I definitely had a lot of fun. Like, I had like a dumb thrill every time I recognized something from the games.
Yeah.
It's weird because it's all about personal interest, right? Because like I remember going and seeing the Sonic movie and having like rock bottom expectations.
Oh, yeah, I
Being like,
haven't
this
seen
is
that
going to be
yet.
trash.
Yeah.
And the thing
Loved
is,
it.
like, I enjoy the Sonic games, I do, but I have no attachment to the Sonic lore at all. You can do whatever you want
Yeah.
to the story, and I don't really care. And so I walked out of that movie being like, that was really fun. Whereas, like, here, I am interested in the lore of Mortal Kombat. I do care about these characters. I do care, like, what you do and the little things, and I'm going to get more nitpicky just because that's where my investment level in the series is.
I guess my main thing is basically like it would have been two things. They could have given a movie that was like it would have been a more serious movie with a lot less of the Mortal Kombat universe in it, and it maybe would have been like a more respectable narrative or something. Or they could have given us this, which is like an insane schlock fest of just fun,
I
but
wish
like
it was
really
schlockier, man.
authentic.
I know. I wish it was schlockier. I wish
Yeah.
it was grittier. They had like too much money. Like the fights were just not creative. To have a budget of $55 million and for shows with a couple 100,000 or movies like The Raid that are on shoestring budgets, even like John Wick is high budget as hell, and that's like all about guns. There's like cooler kung fu in hand-to-hand combat in a John Wick movie. This is Mortal Kombat. Like, maybe my expectations for some of these fights were too high, but like at the end of the day, that is the only reason I showed up, was to see some cool fights, and they did not deliver.
Wow, we'll just disagree. I thought the choreography was good, man. I thought the way they shot the fights was good, and I'll disagree. I thought John Wick 3 especially was one of some of the worst.
Three.
John Wick
It
3
gets
is not
too
very
much. 3 is too much. 3 is too much.
Three was
Yeah.
insane. Did
Shows
you guys
the
watch
restraint.
Nobody? Have you guys
No,
watched
yeah.
Nobody?
No, I haven't
yet.
seen it.
It's kind of fun. I kind of liked it.
I
gotta watch that one.
I'm sure it's really fun, and I bet I would like it if I watched it. I just can't get over like
Saul.
watching a trailer for it, and I'm like, this
Saul
is
Goodman.
just actually
just
John,
John
Wick.
Wick.
This is just
And it's
John
the same
Wick.
producer. Like I actually looked up after the movie if it was in the same universe because there are a couple
Yeah.
of things that made me think like, is that the thing from the thing? And the producer was like, no, they're not linked.
The setup and the style is almost exactly the same.
Pretty much the same. It has
Everything is John
some
Wick.
differences if you watch it, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure.
Anyway, this isn't about Nobody.
Nope.
This is about Mortal Kombat, the ruthless business setup for another franchise.
Yeah, Raiden too. Tadanobu Asano, a huge actor, dude.
Yeah.
Legendary, iconic. Lifeless in this movie.
No, I agree
underutilized.
with you there. Yeah,
It's just more
100%
setup.
agree.
It's just more setup
Yeah,
for the next
yeah.
ones.
Compare him to the 1995 Raiden, who
Christopher
is like,
Lambert crushes it.
is a joy.
There
to
can be
watch.
only one, dude. Let's
And
go.
Dexter's dad in Armageddon or whatever the second one.
Yeah.
Annihilation? What is it called?
Yeah, his personality was super weak, and also for in terms of the unevenness of the special effects, I think a lot of the like special effects and budget was visible there on screen. I was impressed by a lot of it, but then it was so uneven. Like Raiden's eye effect, for instance, his glowing
Yeah.
eyes
Looked
looked like
really
some
dumb.
weird cable TV, like super
Yeah.
low budget effect, and so it was just kind of weird with things like that. Where I thought some things like the fatalities, some of those fatalities were like AAA effects. Where I mean, there's no doubt about it. But then there you had stuff like that where it's like, how would they even let
Outworld
that
did
get
look
in there?
pretty
Outworld.
Outworld
lackluster.
looked
Dude.
It was
cheesy, just like a desert with a
bridge.
filter.
Like it was
Just
like a
like-
bridge with some blue sand around it. It's just like, what is this?
It's the thing, though. That's the thing, though. It's like they had a 30 seconds to like establish what Outworld was.
Yeah,
you know
they're
what I
like,
mean?
this
It's
place sucks. Okay, got it. Like,
Yeah,
all right.
no need to spend millions on Outworld
Right,
if you're
right,
gonna show
right.
it for like
But-
a second.
but
I
what
get
if
it.
they
I get
did,
it.
dude?
I know. Did you guys like that it was a reptile for reptile again?
That was
I
fun.
didn't like that. I didn't like it because it was way too close to Lizard Man, and they even referred to him as Lizard Man later in the movie, which was super weird. I don't know. Like he was like a Komodo dragon in this. Do you like that?
I would have been more hype, I think, if it was.
A person?
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
I love him in his humanoid form, you know, just with reptile face or
Yeah.
whatever behind
I
that.
did-
Like
I
a
did
perfect
think,
opportunity would have been at the bottom of the pit. Knock someone into the pit and have him appear there and then kill him right
Pit,
there
the
and whatever.
Pit,
you
the
know?
pit. How do you not use the pit if you're going to use
How do you not?
the pit?
Even if they had done a fatality and then just kicked the corpse off into
Well, that's
the
the
pit,
thing. They
like,
built it up
at
to that
least do
moment where
that.
you're like,
at
he's going to be
least.
knocked down. Yeah, and then he wasn't. It was so bizarre.
So
It's like
weird.
they were just trying to defy your expectations purposefully.
Some of it, though,
it felt so intentionally like, hey, psych.
No, I think something like that, and I think something like the skeleton not appearing on Scorpion's fatality at the end. I think those specific things like that we say, well, why the heck didn't do that? I think some of that stuff literally might have been censorship stuff in terms
Ooh.
of like, there's only so they might,
Or, like,
you know,
production
that's literally how it
problems
works.
with
Where
COVID
they're
or
like,
something?
nope, that's too many kills, that's too much blood, that's
Sure.
too much. And so
Maybe.
some of those things might have been made for that weird decisions like that too,
Totally.
to get in an R instead of.
But why would
unrated.
falling onto spikes be worse than?
Well, because it's just it's the volume of
Yeah.
kills
Oh,
I see what you're saying.
sometimes.
That's an
Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
point to bring up, Don.
It
Yeah.
is. It's
And I think that's
possible.
why the skeleton thing at the end, it was just too much. They're saying, well, if we're gonna have falling off burning flesh from the skeleton like it is in the game, it's just like then you're gonna have to get rid of
And-
like 5 of those earlier kills.
And
you know?
I don't want to tell tales out of school. I don't know the full cultural significance or whatever, but I've heard like Disney and stuff. You can't show a skull in China, maybe for the like it's like disrespectful. So maybe for like foreign markets, it was like a respect or like a cultural thing that they didn't do that. I
or just
don't know the
financial
full
thing. Yeah,
context
they don't
of
want
that.
to. They don't want to
mean-
mess up the China box office.
Yeah,
That's a lot of money there.
Right.
I'm sure a lot of it has to do with budget and specific markets that they're focusing on, but I definitely thought this was a violent movie. Make no mistake
Yeah.
about it, but I didn't think it was like absurdly violent. I feel
You
like I've
expect
seen
to feel gross coming out of a Mortal Kombat.
yeah,
Yeah,
I feel
for
like
the
I've seen
history.
You expect to feel
far,
like watching
far, far
Hellraiser
more
or
violent
something.
movies.
I was impressed with the violence in that I didn't expect the level of gore to be there that they had. I just didn't think they were going to actually do that. Like, especially as it kept going, some of those kills and some of the graphic stuff they showed, I was
Don,
I didn't think they were going to take it that far.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, like, you compare older Mortal Kombat games to new Mortal Kombat games, right? Like, some of the fatalities in like MK11 specifically are horrifying. Like,
well, that's why that Natara one blew me away. I was like,
Yeah.
I can't believe they just put that in here. That was like incredible.
Yeah.
Because when I saw that in the game, I was like, and it also really brought to highlight for me. It got me thinking of like, wow, it's insane the amount of graphic violence that's allowed in a game compared to a movie. Because like the latter Mortal Kombat's, like you're saying, is just like you get like
even comparing like MK9 to MK11, it's like crazy. Yeah,
it's true.
History of violence.
Yeah. Anything else you guys wanted to say, or does that wrap it up?
I'm so glad Don enjoyed it. Huge Mortal Kombat fan.
That's
I know
all that mattered, really.
Exactly. Like,
I didn't think I was gonna like it. That's why I thought I was gonna hate it. So maybe, who knows? And I
had
saw
all
it
our
in 2
chips on
settings.
you,
That
man.
might have helped.
All we care about is that you had fun, Don.
Okay, I'm sorry you're miserable. If we all went in the
I had
theater
fun. I
wasn't
together,
miserable.
we would have had
Don,
fun.
if I saw this in a theater with you,
If I
this might
saw
be my
this-
favorite movie.
cramming down nachos.
Yeah,
The
dude.
Don
Yeah.
energy
Yeah,
would have,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
straight up.
Or maybe like watching it at home where we could talk during it. Like, yeah, it would have been infectious.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for watching or listening. Thank you for being a patron. If you watched this, that means you probably are a patron. So thank you for that. Tell your friends. And we will see you again with the next spoiler mode for a certain little game that's coming out real soon. It's going to be pretty sick.
New
and pretty
Pokemon Snap.
spooky. New Pokemon Snap. It's got a story.
They
It's super
added a
involved. There's
character.
super hot, tall vampire ladies in there. Check it out. All right, bye.
Spoiler mode, final warning, spoiler mode activated.